Okay. Um, my name is Stina. I'm 32. I'm from Copenhagen, and I do research for a living. I just started a new job in Copenhagen, that is true. I bought them many years ago. I haven't used them for many years actually. I just hold on to them. I bought them with a friend. Her name is Hannah. She's a very dear friend of mine. She always makes me do weird choices that end up being really good. And I think these shoes are actually a really good symbol of that because I've loved them so much. The way, the reason why they matter to me is because they're a symbol of her influence on me from the day we met. I hope to have experiences that touch me. I think there's just a lot of things going on in my head, really, and I think it's a tough world. And if there's something like sunshine, I love sunshine. It's a beautiful day outside. I hope to have some of these a bit random interactions with people. When I meet them, and and it's just out of the blue, you have this connection of some sorts. I love that. I hope to have that every day, but mostly it's just, avoiding having a bad day, I think. I think one of the things I really like about Copenhagen is that there's this high level of trust, which is characteristic for Denmark, and people say that about Danes all the time, but you can literally leave your stuff and find them in the same place, except for bikes, but everybody steals bikes all the time. I like that people are very helpful, so if someone's in need, they will help you. I like that it's a big city, but it's at the same time a small town, or it's a bunch of small towns, the neighborhoods are small towns, and people rarely actually leave their neighborhoods. I like that, and they have very different characteristics or personalities. It feels like home. That is the place I refer to when I go home. I had that feeling shortly in New York as well. In New York, I liked the idea of I could disappear in the masses. And in Copenhagen, you can't do that. You always run into people. Yeah, I think I'm a bit too good to imagine myself in someone else's place. I actually if someone's suffering, I take it way too much to heart, and I feel their pain and I feel everything, and it can be a bit intense. I had a friend who had a miscarriage, and she was suffering a lot. It was an early pregnancy and everything, but still, it was her baby. It was that very overwhelming sadness, and it feels like your hands are tied. I think it's important to try to put yourself in someone else's shoes, to understand their viewpoint and where they come from, and why they say what they say. So if someone's saying something you disagree with terribly, you need to understand that maybe it comes from a different place. I think it's essential for people to have support, good people around them. I think you can endure a lot of terrible things if you're surrounded by good people and love and support. Obviously you need food and very basic stuff. I wouldn't want to be alive if I didn't have that. It's just too crucial. I'm a very emotional person and I need that. I don't identify myself as being Danish. I am a citizen of the world, very popular. I like being able to leave my perspective, also physically, because of course I'm shaped by being raised in Denmark, obviously, and be confronted with something different, and so meet new people who, see the world from a completely different perspective, because they're shaped by their culture or their upbringing or something. I get super claustrophobic easily if I can't afford going anywhere, or I'm not allowed to go anywhere. I'm very privileged in the way that I can choose to go somewhere, right? And other people are forced to come here or forced to go somewhere else. I think it's terrible if you have to move. If you have to move, or you have to, go from one place to another because of necessity rather than for joy. I think it's terrible what's happening out in the world, that people are defending their boundaries, and they're putting up they're discussing in Denmark putting up, fences against animals. We're so scared of the wolves migrating into Denmark as well. But it's also kind of like a, do you want to put up a fence because of wolves or because of migrants? Like, everybody's defending their own home, and I think it's naive, and I think it's outdated to think about countries as fixed. I think everything's fluid, and I think the world will become a better place if we just shuffle around and learn from each other all the time. The UK leaving the EU, for example, I think that's terrible. I think that's the worst decision you can ever make, because it's going to make the world more unstable. Going to be, I think, having such a thing as the EU and the free movement and all these very concrete things makes people friendlier. You have to interact with other people. You can go out. It's very easy to just go to another country. You're going to be confronted with a different culture. You're going to be confronted with different values. I think we're overreacting to the migrant crisis massively. I think Denmark is even denying or saying that we can't even accept the 500 refugees a year. Our quota of the refugees is like 500 people. We can't cope with that. Like, how is that even possible? We're like a country, 500 people, that's nothing. And these people are in need. I think that's the most terrible thing in the world. People are just literally dying, and we're still defending our rights to maintain our culture. But our culture is shaped by tons of other cultures, and I think we need to realize that. And I don't think you can threaten culture. I think if you just open your arms up and accept other people. Also, like, I happily pay my taxes. We have like a high tax, right? I happily pay them because I know that this welfare system saved my ass as well. I mean, I was from this poor family, tons of kids, we had nothing. You know, we weren't poor in the sense, like in a Danish sense, yes. Yeah. But we were poor in, we have this Danish word for it, overskud, which is like the surplus of, you know, energy or emotional capability or something. We didn't have a lot of that because there was always some struggle, some kind of drama struggle in the family. Like, I would never have reached the level in my life I am at now if it weren't for the welfare state, for example. So I happily paid like 50% of my salary. Like, why not? Like, people need it. And I think that's the same idea that sort of like applies to refugees, right? It's just like on an international level. My way of life, I think I am really good at worrying, and I have a tendency to try to live my life as I should, rather than what makes me happy. I put more value in the small things. I might also just improve the world by being present in the moment and being there for a person. Like, you as a human, always more important, and you're in my life, so of course I will prioritize you, obviously, and then I'll deal with the practical shit later. You know, like, then I'll just like sleep a bit less or something. If you need me, I'll be there. And I think that's really important to me, to be that person, to be present, to be a human, especially in Denmark, where everything has to be efficient. Everything has to be efficient. Like, no, how about we just like sit down and take it easy, drink a cup of tea or whatever, and just talk. Especially in research, for example. Like, I had a job at a workplace where people were literally running from the lunch break back into the office because they could save like 10 seconds or something. That level of stress is just like not necessary. Sometimes it feels like people are very focused on leaving, you know, some memory of them being great. And I think especially in research, there's this tendency, oh, I want to do this big discovery and get the Nobel Prize. I don't want the Nobel Prize. I want to be remembered for being a good human. If you were to walk in my shoes, this is actually going to tie back to this part. It would be important for me that you understand that I have an enormous emotional life. Like, there's always tons of impressions and tons of emotions and reactions inside of me. Like, and that's why I really appreciate this friend, because she understands. And she made me accept that it's okay. It's okay to have a lot of emotions. It's okay to love life, and it's okay to love people, and it's okay to be sensitive, and it's okay to be me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what is going to happen in my life right now. I think like there's a lot of questions up in the air in my life, and I don't have an answer to them. So I think my next pair of shoes will just sit still and wait for the answers to come to me. You know, if that makes sense.